Counter-Strike 2 recently got a big update, which involves an update to VAC, the map pool, and view models, more specifically the addition of left-handed view models. If you're new to Counter-Strike and games like it, you were able to move your gun model from the right-hand side, which is the default for a majority of the games, to the left-hand side with the console command CL right-hand 0. This has been a command and a feature since Counter-Strike 1.6, and even other games have implemented their own version of the setting. However, during the first year of Counter-Strike 2, including the betas, the feature was missing, leaving a lot of left-handed users out of luck with no alternative. Recently, Valve finally updated the game, giving players the option to switch gun placements with a few changes we'll go over in a minute, but the first big question is, should you switch to the left-handed view model or stick with the right-handed view model? This might sound a bit odd, but the main reason why people switch view models is because of your eyes. Most people have a dominant eye, which means that one eye focuses more than the other. The best way you could find your dominant eye, assuming you have one, is by looking at a far away object in real life and by forming a triangle with your hands. Keep both of your eyes open while doing this. When you line your hands up with the object, close your left eye and don't move your hands. If the object is still in your field of view, you are right eye dominant. If it doesn't show up, keep your hands still, like completely still, and switch eyes. So close your right eye and open the left. If the object is now in your field of view, you are left eye dominant. If the object still isn't in your field of view with either eyes closed, you either did it wrong or you don't have a dominant eye, meaning it doesn't really matter. So why does having a dominant eye matter in the first place? When you're playing a hyper-competitive FPS like Counter-Strike, you want to focus on as much of the game as you possibly can, and having a specific view model can help with that. I made a transparent chart of sorts to mimic what I mean. If I'm right eye dominant, which I actually am, and use the right-handed model, the gun model can actually conflict with how I focus on the game since it's essentially a big chunk of metal moving in front of my face. When I move it to the left side, it becomes a bit easier since the big piece of metal is on the side that isn't so focused on the game while still being able to see what weapon I'm using. For veterans of the game, you might have noticed that there have been a few changes with how the feature works. For starters, switching sides isn't as smooth as before. Back in CSGO, you could bind a toggle that allowed the view model to switch back and forth whenever you press the key, making clearing corners easier as you could change the weapon to the side that isn't obstructing your field of view. You can still do this in Counter-Strike 2, but Valve made it so it isn't as abusable as you have to redraw your weapon every single time you toggle the view model, meaning if you try to switch mid-fight, it might actually screw you over. So it's best to change your view model ahead of time and just stick with it depending on the situation. I personally never did this, but I know players like TenZ did this a lot, so it might be a big deal for people like him. The next changes are minor, but still something to keep in mind. Valve decided to adapt the Team Fortress 2 version of the left-handed view models where switching weapons can actually affect how the bullets travel. This only affects smokes though, so you still technically shoot through your eyes. When switching view models, you can see that the smoke holes open up from different angles depending on the view model. The last change is that view models are now server-based instead of client-based. In previous Counter-Strike games, Valorant, and Team Fortress 2, only you could see yourself using the left-handed view model. When you spectate other players, the model would be based on what model you were using on your end. In Counter-Strike 2, the models actually change to what each individual is using on their end, which means each player can see what you can or can't see in real time. And I already know what you're thinking. No, the player models in third person doesn't change at all, meaning looking at a teammate or opponents will always show them holding their gun on the right hand regardless on how they're holding it on their end, so you can't abuse the view models to hide behind certain angles more easily. So is it worth switching view models from the right to the left? I do think it's worth at least giving a shot, as it might help you in the long run if you do end up liking it. Just keep in mind that this isn't a setting that's going to make you a better gamer. It's simply a tool to help certain players focus on the game. I was able to play the game with the right-handed default model just fine back when that was the only option, so it's not going to make or break anyone's experience using either model, but it is a good quality of life setting for those that have already been playing with it for the past decade or two. So that is going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on the left and right-handed view models? Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe for more content, and I'll talk to you all later.